Thanks.
Mate, what exactly is it that you do? Are there some silly rules that exist?
It's not the silly rules, it's the uneducated processing officers sometimes who...
What, at council?
Yes, a processing officer tried to tell us we had to put a window in a scullery because it was a habitable space. Well, it's a pantry, you know, and it took us a week to argue that in the end. And they go, oh, actually, don't worry, we understand what you're saying now. It's like, well, you've just wasted a week of time.
And ultimately even a waste of council's time.
Council doesn't care because they just charge us.
So what's the message to the politicians that could maybe fix this?
We could give them a job.
Intense.
And David Seymour into my office.
I reckon he'd be all about it, eh?
Yep, learn how to make the coffee first. But, yeah.
A quick interruption. I know you're keen for the episode. Before we get underway though, would you do us an enormous favour? Please like and subscribe. And I don't even want you to look at those numbers because we feel bloody embarrassed.
And that's what baffles me a lot because in person where I'm getting really positive feedback, hey, we've seen your episode, hey, we've seen that you guys got this guest and that guest, and we're like, oh, cool. Where did you watch it or where did you hear it? And they're like, oh, we heard it on Spotify or watched it on YouTube. Great. Subscribe.
Help us out. We're at the beginning of our journey. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. All right, into the episode.
Welcome to Home Run. On this episode, we're with Michael Cooper Architects. Great to have you with us, Michael. Mate, what exactly is it that you do?
So we're an architecture practice in Grafton. And I'm a registered architect. We've got 12 staff in the office. And yeah, we just try to do good stuff.
Nice. You mentioned earlier that you started, I guess, down that path as a draftsman.
Yep.
What exactly is the difference between a draftsman and an architect?
As a draftsman, we were taught how to technically put a house together or a building together. So it's technology based. You know the building code and all that. There's no formal design training. And I worked as a draftsman or a technician for 16 years, and then went to architecture school. 4 years of architecture school taught a lot, and the difference was huge. I wouldn't detract anyone from going to architecture school because you do come out more well-rounded, and you learn to be able to critique your own projects and things like that.
Mm. Do you think there's much of a difference between, say, someone like you who's done the drafting side of things and then moved into architecture versus, say, an architect that hasn't had that kind of grounding?
That's the age-old debate.
I don't know the debate well enough. You know, I'm the uninitiated.
It is the age-old debate because, you know, some of the tutors and things at architecture school think that it makes you think too much about the technical side of things, and it sort of could cloud your creative license. But when I went to architecture school, it was I sort of used what I knew technically and things to actually help me with my projects and things we were doing. But I was sort of always in the back of my mind, I was there to learn. I was there to learn how to be an architect. What I knew as a draftsman was just background noise that I could use to help me to present quicker, things like that. And in practice today, I believe what it does, it helps us to just have a bit more of a pragmatic approach to what it is that we're doing. So, you know, we like to think, you know, that our designs work and they hit a budget and things, and there would be very, very few projects that we have going through our office that don't get built.
Fantastic.
And do you see that as being different to perhaps projects going through other offices?
I can't speak for other offices because, you know...
they're not yours, but...
and also, you know, as we sort of race our own race, so to speak, but yeah.
What's the key? What's the key to getting built? Like, is it client selection, like in terms of the fit with that, or what would stand in the way of that happening?
We heading down a rabbit hole, designing something that is going to come in too expensive, and the clients get a surprise. What we do is we have checkpoints along the way where we'll work with builders who, we'll do a concept, we'll talk to a builder, get a baseline high level cost. We'll then meet with the clients and sort of see whether it's actually feasible and in line with their budget and things. We can either scale back, we can look at staging, things like that. And then if everything lines up, we move forward to the next stage, which is, detailing the design and things like that. And then we sometimes, clients will say, just go ahead, get into building consent, lodge it. Otherwise, we might say, well, let's put it out to pricing first. And if it comes back looking good, then we lodge the consent, and that's a month or so for it to be approved, and then we can sort of lock in a builder. So it's about having checks and balances in place. And I think also for me, it's about having an architect that you're working with that's not sort of trying to do something for themselves. It's about sort of producing a project for the people and for the clients. And if you want a monument to yourself, go build your own house. That's how I like to think anyway. I'm comfortable enough with my own skin to just do something for people.
Fantastic.
How did you get into it?
How did I get into it? As in,
well, I mean, did you say 17 years as a draftsman?
16 years.
16, sorry.
Yeah.
By all intents and purposes, a long time doing that.
Yeah.
So I guess, how did you get into that? But then also, after that period of time, to then suddenly go, hang on, I'm going to go to architecture school. There's a bit to your journey. I want to understand it.
I had a very...
Hey, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Quick interruption and request. Please like and subscribe, and don't be too Kiwi about it. If there's a question you've asked, or if we've done something silly, let us know in the comments and share it with a friend. Now back to the content.
My mum was very driven to make sure I succeeded. I guess when I was 12 years old, I was told I was going to be an architect. I used to draw a lot of boats and things, and my mother and my headmaster talked, and yep, that's what I should be doing. So everything was steered towards that. I was going to do boats, architecture, design boats and things, and my mum talked to an architect probably when I was mid-high school, and it was very new back then. We're talking sort of mid-80s, mid to late 80s. And he said to my mum, well, for him to make a good future, a career, he'd need to move overseas. So he should look at buildings. So then I started looking at designing buildings and proper architecture. I moved to Wellington to enroll. This is in 1988. 89. 88. Moved to Wellington to enroll in architecture, and there was an intermediate year back then where you had to do basically repeat 7th form at school. And I thought, I don't know about this, and I'd been already accepted into the drafting course. So I said to my parents, no, I'm coming back home. I'm going to do drafting. So I did my first year of that, then moved to the Waikato. I finished my drafting, and worked for, like I said, 16 years. But my mum was always in my ear and saying, when are you going to go to architecture school? You said you were going to be an architect, and and she almost took it that drafting was a second string to an architect. And so I listened. I said, one day I'll go do it. And I actually tried to study part-time, and it just didn't happen for me. And then I talked to my boss, and I'd been offered another job at Warren and Marnie, actually. And they'd said to me, well, without your degree, there's only so far you'll progress in the practice. So I thought, So I said to them, well, thanks for the offer. I'm not going to take the job because I'm going to architecture school. So I talked to my boss at the time, and he said, well, you can work part-time. I said, well, that suits me. So I studied full-time, worked part-time, and he was very, very good in terms of he'd let me work on projects that I needed to just fill in my time and things. And then at the end of my degree, I got offered a job at Cross and Clark Carnahan, good practice, and he said, well, I knew someone would step me up. So I went and worked there for a while, and then that was where I learned about, good residential design and detailing and things, and then started my own practice. And so it's all sort of, and look, my mum's incredibly happy and proud of
I was just going to ask you that.
And I talk to her every day, and she's stoked.
Yeah.
When she tries to ring me and can't get hold of me, she goes, "Oh, it's because you're busy," and that's a good thing. So.
That's fantastic.
It sounds like your mum was very influential.
Yeah, and still is. Yeah, it's good.
And also just maybe touch upon, because I think off camera you also mentioned that whilst you were studying, but thereafter you also taught.
Oh, yeah. So when I was studying, I was actually sitting in the drawing room with a friend of mine, Sean, and he's actually, I caught up for lunch with him in Melbourne a few months back. And we were drawing some drawings, and he was doing a section, and he hadn't done it right. And I said, mate, what are you doing? This is how you do it. And I was showing him, and he goes, well, you should teach this. And I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about that. So we went to the head of school, and we said, hey, we think there's a bit of a gap in the degree, and we think there needs to be like a technical drawing paper. And so Tony said to me, well, you're more than qualified. If you can get 8 people, you should teach it. I said, whoa, hang on. I wasn't suggesting I was going to teach it. But we got 18 enrolled, and the following semester we got 36. So we ran 2 classes, and I taught that for 14 years. And a few of my staff, or we've probably had 6 or 8 staff that have, some of them are still with us, have started out as interns, and they were my teaching assistants as well, and then have come through and we to work full time. We run an intern program in the office where we Unitec or Auckland, but Unitec are very good students, and we try to get them in sort of halfway through 3rd year, and then we give them an intern job. We pay them, paid interns. Everyone gets paid, and then hopefully by the time they graduate with their masters, we can offer them a full-time role.
Kind of good for both of you to figure out whether it's a good fit.
It's really good, and we get to teach them how we like to detail, how we like to work. But even if they don't decide to work for us, once they've finished working, for 2.5 years as an intern, they're pretty good. I reckon, the guys and girls that we've got working in the office are probably some of the better technicians and architects that, out there.
How big is your team now?
So we've got 12 in the team now, and 11 in the office, but we've got a girl who worked for us for 3 or 4 years, and she's moved to Papamoa, so she just contracts back to us. And so she was actually one of my students years ago, one of the early ones.
Fantastic. And is it, are you predominantly designing residential or both?
Predominantly residential, and that's an interesting thing as well, because as a draftsman, I worked for a practice where we did 99% commercial industrial was what we did, and so I've got that feather in my cap, I guess you'd say. But just moving to Crossings and then, starting out on my own, the residential is sort of something that just naturally happened. And we've always been so busy that I haven't actually had a chance to even sort of dabble at the idea of approaching people or trying to extend into that commercial realm. I am sort of starting to think about that at the moment, but we have done some restaurant fit outs and cafes. We just finished a bar in St Heliers, which is about to open soon, and
which one? I live in St Heliers. I should go in there and be like, I know the show.
Well, it'll be one that's opening very soon.
Oh, so, fantastic. Fantastic.
And then we did we did the fit out for the refit of bathrooms and the bar and things for Chapel Bar, and then the Midnight Gardener, which is now Parade Burger, down with Luke. That was the dumpling. He had dumpling bar.
Gotcha.
And so we did set that up for him, and we've done some other things over the time, but we've done in geography, fit out theatres and some offices and things like that. But those are all sort of usually for clients that we've already got that are saying, hey, well,
can you do this?
Can you do our business now as well, or whatever? So, and it's same like in the Queenstown market. We've done a few projects down there, but a lot of it is in the residential. But a lot of those are for clients that we've done houses for in Auckland, and then they've moved down there and they've rang us up and said, hey, we want you to do another one. So,
is the aesthetic sort of a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy? You mentioned earlier that a lot of your businesses come from other business that you've done. So is that because they're attracted to that particular style and so you do more of that, or is it very much your own kind of like taste that you imbue the projects with?
Look, we always try to satisfy the client's brief, and it's more about, I guess, us being specialists in aesthetics, proportions, things like that, and the style, I guess, just happens, and I guess that's our inherent style. But I sort of, we're always trying different things,
What would you say is a great brief?
A great brief, I think, is one where people do the basics. They tell us how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, all those basic things. We can look at that brief and say, sure, that's good, but a house of this size, people are going to expect a wine cellar, or internal access garaging, those sorts of things. So that part of the brief is good, but then there's another overlay, which is we need a lot of the time for people to tell us how they want to live in the house. Do they want to have somewhere when they come home to put their bag down on a chair and not forget about it? Or do they say, well, I don't like clutter on a chair, so I want to put it in a cupboard and things. And just how, they might want to watch TV and not hear the kids, or the kids are watching TV and they want to be cooking or having a wine in the lounge or whatever. So it's all about how they're going to live in the house, and so, quite often we'll say to people, look, we'll do a first cut. That's an architectural response to your brief. And then you guys come back with an overlay of how you're going to live. And then if we need to change things around a bit, we can do that.
How much does that change from the initial brief then? Because I'm guessing that a lot of people would come and say, this is what I want. And then when it comes to the practical drawings, they're like, oh, actually,
that's all part of the concept and things. And look, when we first started, it was interesting because when we first started, we would do, I was just drawing freehand. I don't know how to use the 3D software. I'm too old, mate, And so we would do a floor plan and things and show it to people because that's the plan side of it. And then also we didn't want to go too far. And but then we started to they'd come and they go, oh, wow, you've nailed it. That's awesome. So then we sort of thought, let's just take it that little bit further. And so now we're doing, concepts where we're doing full 3D renders, the floor plans and things to show people. and just backing ourselves that we've looked at their brief, we've listened to what they want, and that sort of thing. And I think that's the thing which I think we do, is we listen to people. We try.
Do you want to hit a home run in your property journey?
Please like the episode, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, just going back to twofold questions here is, obviously you've got a team of 12, so I'll be interested to know, and you're the only director in the company. What value and principle have you instilled in your group that kind of carries to the rest of your team?
Teamwork. Teamwork's a thing. And look, I think it comes from the front. So, if one of the teams say, oh yeah, well, I designed this, I said, no, hang on. While you were working on the design for that, the guy over here is doing some consent drawings and things. So if he wasn't doing that, you'd be doing that. So he's as much a part of that design as you are. And I said, you'll never hear me sit up, and look, we're in meetings all the time, and people say, oh, this is so amazing. Oh, yes, you've done such a great job. And I will never say, oh, thanks. Yep, I am. I'm pretty good at what I do. I wouldn't say that. And my staff will never hear me say that, and neither will the client, because my reply to them is, hang on, it's a team effort. I couldn't do it without the guys behind me, and they couldn't, and so I think everything we do is a team effort, and it's just a nice philosophy. And if we go out anywhere, like to a function and that, the team sort of sticks together, and it's quite a nice culture to have, and things. They'll all go for a walk at lunchtime and things, and they even invite the old boss with them. So it's quite cool. It's just, I think look, the office is getting bigger and bigger. It's 12 staff and that. But I think I still think of it as a small, close-knit little office, a boutique little practice that just has the horsepower to get some work done quickly and decently.
And so, and that's fantastic. So obviously working in the team, and you somewhat work in that creative environment as well. What would be the most common creative challenges that you meet, whether it's from a client or internal? Like, what are those bugbearers?
The building code. The building code is the biggest bugbear we have. It's,
Why is that?
Actually, it's not the building code. It's because there's interpretations of the building code and things that we can do to work around it. And I think we had a girl working for us, and she's very good at her job. But I'd say something, and we need to design this like this, and she's like, no, well, the building code says we have to do this and this. I said, hang on, know the building code so we can work around it. And it's about understanding, and that's what Ken Crossan was fantastic for. He would be like, understand the rules, and then how do we do something better? And I think that's the thing that we try to adopt is, if you know that these are the parameters you've got to work within, that's fine. Work within them, but try and come up with a creative solution to actually make them look good.
Are there some silly rules that exist?
It's not the silly rules. It's the uneducated processing officers sometimes who...
What, at council?
Yes. Who the other day we had a processing officer try to tell us we had to put a window in a scullery because it was a habitable space. Well, come on, it's a scullery, it's a pantry, and it took us a week to argue that. And in the end, we said to them, well, fine, we'll put a skylight in. And then they go, oh, actually, don't worry. We take your, we understand what you're saying now. It's like, well, you've just wasted a week of time and things. So
it's frustrating for you, frustrating for the client, and ultimately even a waste of council's time.
Well, council doesn't care because they just charge us, and so it's things like that even the whole processing system of stopping the clock at 16 days of 20 and coming up with questions and things, no matter how good your set of drawings is.
So what's the message to the politicians that could maybe fix this?
Message to the politicians is I think they should work in council or work in an architectural office for a week. We could give them a job.
Intense.
David Seymour into my office.
I reckon he'd be all about it, eh?
Yep, I'll put him to work. He'd learn how to make the coffee first.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But yeah, look, it's just part of what we do, and a lot of clients say, "Oh, yeah, are we going to have problems with the council?" And it's like, yeah, but we're used to it. It's fine. I've got a very, very good team.
Have you got an example of any of your recent projects where you did work around the building code and what you did?
I couldn't.
You can lightly touch on that at all, or no?
Well, just things like, there's not only the building code. There's things like the height in relation to boundary rules, all that sort of thing. Trying to pack as much into a site as we can. Sometimes we've got a house in Papamoa where. A beach house where we had maximum heights, we had height in relation to boundary, things like that, and we wanted to squeeze in 3 levels. And so we came up with an idea of, the sand dunes, how they're undulating and things, and so the house has lots of angles and things. And what that allowed us to do was squeeze in 3 levels in and around the maximum heights and things. So it's about creativity and trying to, and also, I guess, knowing what rules you can break. Well, when I say break, there's knowing what the allowable infringements are and working within those. And then also knowing how far you can push things before it triggers other consents and things. So there's lots of blurry lines there that we can actually work with.
And if I'm a homeowner listening to this right now, like how far in advance do you think should they, if they're thinking of getting an architect on board, how far in advance should they start that process, you reckon? What is the optimal time for them?
Yeah, also I think the fastest we've ever done something, and that was I was hopping on a plane in Queenstown just to come home, and a lady that we'd done a house for rang me and said, "Oh, the neighbours looking getting a house designed by it was a housing company anyway," and she goes, and they're struggling to work out how you got our house through with no eaves when the covenants clearly say you've got to have eaves. And I said, well, we just got the covenants changed. And so again, that's one of those things where there's a lot of things that are doable if the design's good. And because I think, planners and things look at the total rounded picture rather than, it could be the most beautiful thing and we've had to put eaves on it, or, those covenants are in place for a reason. It's to keep crappy buildings out of certain things. And so anyway, she gave me his number. I rang him up and I said, look, come in for a coffee. I'll show you a coffee. Come in, no obligation. Let's sit down and have a look at your design. It wasn't good. And I said to him, look, we'll do a concept for you. I gave him a good deal because we actually had, as it turned out, after talking to him, we'd done his brother's house. And he was using his brother's house as a guide for what he wanted. And I said, but it looks nothing like it. But let's do one for you. So we ended up doing a project for him. He's so happy with it now. And it cost him no more than what he was spending. And we got that from the minute I was on the plane to when the builders could start digging, 3 months. And we had to get we do the design, we had to get a resource consent, a building consent, and, all the drawings of that. And that was quick. So that's the fastest you can sort of do.
Is that when all the ducks are aligned?
Everything lined up perfectly. Like it was, like, and there was Christmas break in there as well.
Oh wow!
You know, and so it was. I was quite shocked, but
that's the land architecture speed record happening right there.
Yes, yeah. And but look, it got built and it's fantastic. It's such a good house, and it's one of 4 now we've done in Whangaparaoa.
You took a look at the plan and it wasn't great.
No.
How did you know that? I know it's your experience, but can you describe some of those hallmarks for things?
So there was just a lot of like wasted circulation space. Like, you know, when you've got huge long hallways, things like that, that's all square meterage. You know, we've just designed a 100 square meter house with, it's 3 bedrooms, single car garage, 100 square meters on the nose, and it's got 2 square meters of circulation space, right? So that's how it can happen. Otherwise, you know, if you've got a meter wide hallway and for every meter, that's some, like you could put a bedroom, you know, things like that. And so by
wasted
space and just things the wrong way around, you know, and it just didn't look good either. But also, like, so going back to when I was at Crossons, like Ken would always say, if you got a tidy plan, it's going to be a good building. And it's about having a tidy plan. And it wasn't. It didn't flow. It was almost like it was designed for the wrong site. And so, you know,
it sounds like it was his brother's plan for a different site.
No, it wasn't his brother's plan.
It wasn't.
No,
Sorry, pardon me.
His brother's plan sold up in Long Bay, and that actually sold for more than any other property around there. And so, yeah, it was really good. But look, we did this house. We put a little window seat in there, and it just, I don't know, it's just lined up perfectly. When you stand in the kitchen, it just lines up. You see a good view of Rangitoto, and I'll be the first person to admit that was probably a bit of a fluke, but it's an awesome fluke when that sort of thing happens.
That's awesome.
People are coming up to me and saying how much they've enjoyed the episodes and things, which obviously I appreciate. But then I look on the episodes and there's like literally maybe one comment.
Yeah, well, exactly. So that'd be amazing if we can get that sort of interaction with our audience online.
Although to be fair, you wouldn't know based on our subscriber and likes and comments. And don't be too Kiwi about it. If there's a question you've asked or if we've done something silly, let us know in the comments and share it with a friend. Now back to the content.
So that was probably like the fastest where everything lined up.
That was the fastest, but I think people, you know, a normal process would take at least 6 months. But, you know, what we hear all the time is, oh, well, we're not quite ready to start yet. We're not quite ready. You know, they might want to sell something. They might want to save some more money or whatever. But you don't need to start the whole process. You can just start looking at things, and a lot of the time what we'll do, and I sort of started the business on this concept where you can do a relatively simple and cost-effective sketch for someone to just show them what the options are. And because a lot of the time they don't know what, you know, they've got a bungalow and they're like, well, we want to do something, but we don't know what it is. And so quite often what we'll do is we'll say, well, you need a master plan, you need a concept, and don't spend any money on the house till you've got this the master plan, because there's nothing worse than wasting money. So what we like to do is say, well, get the overall plan, then bite chunks off it, or do the whole thing, whatever you want. You might then have a master plan and say, well, great, we'll wait 6 months, then we'll have the funds together or whatever to get started. Or they'll say, okay, oh, well, that's wicked. These here is just painting these bedrooms. Cool, you can go do it. But and even if there's something like they might say, well, we want to build something temporarily, they can earmark a certain amount of cost that can be thrown away later because we're going to build something in its place. But at least they've got a plan then, and they're not just sort of throwing good money after bad. And that's kind of the pragmatic approach we like to take, is about just giving people all the information.
You mentioned some of those, I guess, lessons or principles that have, I guess, been instilled through your career? Like you mentioned Ken and his, having a tidy plan.
Yeah.
What are some of the other big things from your perspective that you see as, the hallmarks of a successful project?
Well, I think, it's about how you treat your clients as well, and keeping them updated on things, keeping them in the loop. One of my very, very first, and look, when I first started in business, and we'd sort of, through a friend of from cycling and things, there was a lady that she's high up in tech, and we did her house. And, I used to go, well, firstly, I wasn't registered yet, so she was pushing me. She should ring me up and say, so where's your case study at and things? And I'm like, oh, God, they haven't done it, because it's a nightmare to put all that together. Anyway, it was good because she was pushing me to get that stuff done. And then she said to me after that, well, now that you're registered, we're going to start building my house, and I want to be your first client. So you need to start your business. And so that was sort of a
She
cool
really
thing.
believed in you, eh?
I still talk to her today.
Yeah.
We're actually just, she rang me yesterday actually, because we're having to do something with the garage door. But so she's got a cool place in Stanmore Bay, and she's fantastic. Like fully supportive of everything we've done. She asks about the business and things. And but the good thing is, I would pick her up on a Saturday morning, because for me it was my first project. So pick her up on a Saturday morning, we'd go up there, check out progress on the site, things that I'd explain to her what's been done and things, and then so that has been really, really good. And but what she said to me is something that I'm actually very good at with our clients, is just keeping them sort of in touch with everything that's going on, and that sort of thing. So it gets harder as you get busier and you get more staff that take your time. It was a bit easier when it was just me,
But you find communication goes a long way, especially when, you being the expert, you'd know the process inside out, and it's like, you might have fewer projects online and they're all at different stages, and you can visualize that. But for that one person, that's the only project.
And it's everything.
It's so important for them to be in loop, otherwise they feel so lost. So hand-holding is really important part of that process. Talking about projects, so talk us through some of your sort of interesting projects that you've been working on.
Interesting projects. So, well, we did a little boathouse down in Herne Bay.
Oh yeah,
and that's actually been a really cool project. It was we designed it, I guess, loosely with some architectural ideas in mind. We when the doors, it's got translucent big hydraulic front doors that when they're open in the daytime, they're supposed to look like the sails of a yacht and things, and then at night when they're closed, it's like a ship's lantern. And then sort of inside is all plywood lined Meranti ply, which is used in boat building and things like that. But the shape and form of it was 100% practical. The roof is asymmetrical, so because the owner, his wife sails a little laser yacht, so she wanted to be able to put it into the boathouse with the mast still up and things, and on the other side he's got a little speedboat that he takes in. We've got a mezzanine at the top level which he uses as a study, and opens the doors and looks out to the coast. It's fantastic. So we got a New Zealand Architecture Award for that, NZIA award, and then the same night I went home and checked my emails, and we'd got a New York Architecture Award as well. So
fantastic.
So that's been a pretty cool project. And since then we've had, we've designed another one just down the road in Herne Bay. And then we've had a few other quite cool inquiries for a couple of others. And then we're designing one in Waiheke at the moment too. For the builder who actually built the one. Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever designed a boat yet?
No.
Is it on the bucket list? I feel like that was how it all got started.
Actually, I did. I worked with a guy. This would be 5 years ago. I was going to build a boat or have a boat built. And I worked with a guy, Blair, and we designed this boat. It was pretty cool. And then just one thing led to another, and it was hard to get an accurate cost of the build and things. So, and a boat came up for sale, which is a Dickies brand, and I bought that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did in a way, because it's a fantastic boat, and yeah.
I feel like that frustration you felt is sometimes what clients feel when they're sort of lining up to try and do a project and they just have no idea where it's
and
land.
Look, I always say to people, look, how much, what's your budget? And, people say, well, we don't really know. This is going to be our forever home and that thing. So, they think they might stage it or whatever. And I say, okay, well, how much is your first stage? And they go, well, we haven't really thought about it. And we know they have, but they're just either thinking, oh no, if we say this, they're going to think, oh no.
We'll build right to the edge of the budget.
No, well, either right to the edge of the budget or is our budget too small?
Too small, yeah.
Right? And so what I say to people, because a lot of the thing is, a lot of architects will price their fees based on a percentage of the build cost. So you tell them a build cost and that's sort of what they set their fees. But there's always a little fine print there where it says, that they reserve the right to renegotiate their fees if the build budget's higher. That whole concept never really sat well with me. So right from the outset, when I started the practice, we charge a fixed fee in the true sense of the word, but it's based on the amount of work we've got to do. So you give us your brief, you tell us what it is we're going to do, and then we'll give you a fixed fee back. But if you then said, actually now we want a swimming pool down the back, and that, then I say, well, sure, that wasn't in the scope, so therefore we renegotiate the fee. No one has ever complained about that, because it's more of a, conversation than, hey, here's a bill because you spent a bit more. So what I say to people so I tell people that, and I say, look, if anything, there is no benefit to me if you spend more money. If anything, all I get is a bad reputation because you've gone over budget. And so when people say, when I say to them, I'll say, how much is, what's your budget? How much do you want to spend? And they say, well, we don't really know. I say, okay, well, how much would scare you? And then they'll tell us. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, we need to button back from that then. And I think that's it's a better way to think, because especially if it's going to be your forever home, you could do it in stages over the next 5 years or whatever. But for this stage one, what are you comfortable with now?
So, being aware of the budget is huge. What other things, would you advise someone to get clear on?
How they want to grow with the home. So if it's a young couple planning a family, how that house needs to transition for them. You don't want to spend all this money on something and then, oh no, we've got 3 kids now and the house doesn't work. And also maintenance. There's no point, having a cedar home that you've got to scaffold every 18 months to restain. The lady in Stanmore Bay, obviously she does. She's happy with that. She restains the house black every 18 months and looks fantastic. And but the maintenance factor is huge, because especially with the scaffolding rules and things now, there's massive costs in that.
Of course.
Are there any products or design elements that you just think are no-brainers for a property?
Look, we're using a little bit of a product called WeatherTex at the moment. It doesn't move. It's a big competitor to Hardy's over in Australia and things like that. It's 100% like environmentally friendly. It's pulped hardwood, so they get they've got their own forests. They chip them up. It's all bonded together with paraffin wax and things, and then all the runoff from the machines goes back to the forest for mulch and things. So it's a great story, great product, and nice people to deal with there as well. And so we're using a bit of that. We're using a bit of things like hone block at the moment, so just what is your simple rudimentary building product? You can stack bond it. We're using it as brick veneer as well, and hone it, and it looks cool, so there's just lots of different things like that. But we try to mix it up a little bit. Cedar is, still something that I like to use, but we tend to use it more in areas where it's easy accessible and things like that, so that you can actually get in there and maintain it.
Yep, aesthetic with a bit of a practical mindset to what it's actually like to maintain these things.
Well, you're not going to, get a friendly phone call if, that they've got to put scaffolding up at, thousands of dollars every, little while, or especially some of these places, with some of the sites we're working on and things, cliff tops, and you just can't. You got to be thinking about the practical side of things as well.
Yeah. And talking of that, I mean, like, obviously we spoke about the budget, and if you get an ideal client coming and sitting right in front of you, what would be the things that you want them to be equipped with, or like you'd want them to be ideally sort of informed so that when they come in, it makes your job easier? We spoke about the budget. Yep. What would be the other elements that you think help?
There's budget. There's, like I said before, they're brief. Also, we say to people, how, do you want to be involved in this project? If you don't, we're not really interested in taking the job. Because they're just, you asked me before about how you get excited in a project and things like that. And having a client that's absent or isn't interested, they just want the house at the end of the day, it's kind of a bit mind-numbing. It's, people, because, you take the good with the bad, you're not always going to have everything go your way during a build. And how you deal with things is sort of a huge tail of the tape. And so, if things go bad, we try to get it sorted during the build, and we work with, people who can deal with things, as things happen. But also, I guess, for your staff and things like that, they like someone to come in and say, oh, wow, the house is looking so good, we're so stoked. So if you've got a client that's overseas and they're never going to see it until it's finished, well, it just, people are just working for who, and...
What about if you've got a client that's involved, but they look at the plan? Involved? Yeah, do you get too involved, or they start trying to do your job for you?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Is that a problem?
Look, it's... At the end of the day, it's their house, and we do have, some people that do like to do that, but they're also the people who understand why we do things. And, we've got people at the moment who are, they're going away, they're working out how they want their kitchen to be, then they're going to come to us. But then they're like, well, but tell us if we've done a dumb thing here. And so we do. If we're always honest with people, because, I say to people, I'm going to tell you whether you need to spend more money or save money. At the end of the day, it makes no difference to my fee. So I'm going to be honest with you. And the same with, if someone's doing, working out their kitchen or something like that, because we do all our own interiors and things as well, then I'll say to them, have a look, because that pantry might be better over here or whatever. And then we work together with someone like Blum, and we do a test drive, and they actually see their kitchen in full size, and look, they can make the decision. At the end of the day, I do my job, which is being honest with them. It's their house.
You mentioned before about how almost inevitably there's going to be some challenges along the way. How important and are you involved in the selection of a builder?
yeah, so we, not always, like, I think just over the last 11 years and even earlier than that, I've created relationships with builders and things. And I think, there's the old sort of age-old thing where architects and builders never get on, apparently. And, and as a draftsman, I when I was working in commercial, we'd turn up to a site and they'd be like, oh, the architects are here. And, the number of times you've heard that. But now, since I've got my own practice and people understand that I'm actually just trying to get a good job out and do a good job for the clients, but also not make the builder's life a nightmare. We get a lot of our work through builders. So, and some clients are like, what? You're recommending an architect? What's going on? And, and they go, oh yeah, well, we work well with Mike and things. So we work with probably half a dozen build companies and things, and it's really good.
There has to be a synergy there, because obviously
got to be a synergy.
Very involved in bringing your vision to life.
Well, I learned when I just finished architecture school, I was working on a project in Opedo Bay, and I rang the builder up, and he was a 60-year-old grumpy bugger, but and I said to him, look, that's not how we, want the waterproofing and all that. And he goes, well, what do you know? You're the architect. I'm the guy that's got to carry the can if anything goes wrong. I'm like, yeah, you do, but this is how we want it. And anyway, then I soon learnt that, hey, this guy, sure, there's the way things are drawn and the way things we want to do things, but this guy's also got a wealth of knowledge over a long, long time. And so I thought, well, I at least owe him the respect to listen. And I did. And then I told him why I wanted things done the way I wanted them done. And we became good friends after that. And it was just, he thought I was just going to be this upstart little architect that comes down to site and starts telling him what to do. And as soon as he realised that we're on the same page, then we were good.
Collaborate.
And that's kind of what how we like to approach things now. And I haven't heard for years, oh, here's the architect, unless the guys are just having a joke. But, they're pretty good. So it's about just trying to be approachable, I think, is the big thing.
What are you seeing at the moment in terms of, I guess, the economy, the construction market? Where are we at? What are your predictions?
What are my predictions? Well, like I said, we race our own race. So we don't really look at what other architecture practices are doing and that. However, we're starting to get a lot of inquiry, especially in the last few weeks. Auckland, Waiheke, Queenstown, all those areas, even up north. But builders are actually, that sort of flows through to the builders.
Is there a sign of confidence?
I think, well, yeah, there's a bit more coming back. Like we've had, higher end clients haven't slowed down.
Yep.
But the sort of entry level market is sort of starting to, but it's slow. And maybe they're talking about, more interest rate drops and things like that. And so people sort of hold off a bit. But then other people that are smart enough to understand that, the subbies and that at the moment don't have a lot of work. So get in quick while you can, because as soon as the market takes off, they're not going to be able to find anyone again. All the builders we're working with are pretty well stacked up now, which is good. We just closed 3 tenders the other day, and 3 different projects, and going to 3 different builders. So that's good.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty good time to be building, but maybe don't wait around too long.
Yeah, a good time if you're a client looking for a builder. If you're a builder, it's not the best time, but it's, it's interesting. I was talking to a guy the other day, and they said, "Oh, well, it's not only the good, the bad builders that have sort of are struggling. Some good builders are struggling too."
How do you tell the difference between the two?
Well, I think a lot of the bad builders have sort of gone now in the first round. The guys that in the boom just bought a ute and got a dog and took any job they could. They've now sort of gone back and are contracting to other people because times are tough, and in a tough market you need to have a bit of backing. And but the good builders that were working on a good project, and then that's finished, and now they're in the market where they're trying to line something else up. So those are the guys that are the good ones that are struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of to me, square meter rates can be slightly deceptive because things like kitchens and that sort of stuff are more expensive.
It depends.
But let's say a 200 square meter house.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in terms of the spread?
Anything from $5,000 a square meter to, well, you could go 10, but if you're going to get a pretty good house if you stay under 8. There's exceptions to the rule, don't get me wrong, but we're sort of doing a lot in the sort of 6,000 sort of bracket.
Do you get a lot of clients that come in with a forever home design, or almost like the entry level as well, or is there
a lot of entry level, but even people that come in and they go, well, we're not going to stay here forever. We don't want, or especially renovations, and we've done bungalows and things, and we go into them and they go, oh, we're not going to stay here forever. We just and I'm like, if we do our job properly, you will want to. And we have done a few of those where people have then said, oh, well, if we might move, but look for another place, but we want you to do our house again. And things. We're doing a project at the moment, or we've just done a house in Queenstown. We've just finished the second house for these people. We're designing their holiday home at the moment, or drawing their holiday home at the moment. And I was down in Queenstown a few weeks ago, and I went and saw their new house that's just been finished, and they said, oh, do you want to do a fourth one for us? So that's pretty cool. When that happens, it's actually really good. But
what would you say that you, I guess, over your career that you're particularly proud of?
I think just being able to navigate through these times that we've had, and not lose any staff. That's probably the big thing for me.
Remarkable.
We've got a full head of staff, and I've said to my team, look, the most important thing for me is being able to pay your wages. That's the big thing. I would personally take it as a failure if I couldn't, and I think that's both a good and a bad thing. I mean, it's just the sign of the times if you have to sort of fall on your sword a little bit. But I also think it's a good thing that I take it personally, and it's one of the most important things to me, because I'm paying these guys bills. Some of them have got mortgages, kids, that sort of thing, and I think too many business owners only think about themselves. And so that's one thing. Just also what I've been able to achieve and build over the last 11 years. I mean, it's huge. We've got the other engineering practice and things as well, and just and also just trying to stay myself.
Maybe I'd love to know just a little bit more about the entrepreneurial side of things, because I can hear you touch on it. Also, you got the architecture practice, engineer.
Yep. And structural engineering, and a construction company. Yeah.
And you wrote a course for uni.
Well, and so the Unitech thing, that was interesting because that started out as an elective, and then it got turned into a full-time, compulsory subject. So yeah, that was pretty good. Look, I'm no revolutionary entrepreneur or anything like that, and people say to me, gee, what have you done? And I say, look, I've kind of just fluked it, and I'm no scholar. I just do what feels right, and you try to do right by people. I had a business mentor for a little while who came in to the architecture practice, but he asked me what I wanted to focus on, and it was never about business or how do I make more money and all that sort of thing. It was more like, how do I achieve the right culture? And because I kind of believe you treat your people right, you do the right thing by clients, staff, everyone, and the money will come. And it's...
How would you describe your culture?
I want people to want to be there, and a team culture. If something bad's happening for one person, or like if one of the guys is in the weeds and they've got to stay late to get something done, there's almost no chance they'll be there on their own. Someone, we've got 2 young guys at the moment who, honestly, the 2 of them they stay late and work just to keep each other company. I'm like, are you going to go home? And he's like, yeah, soon when Sean leaves. And it's like, it's
that dynamic, is it?
It's just a good team environment. And so yeah, it's that's kind of the culture I like. Is when if someone isn't enjoying their job, they should just go. Life's too short. Go work somewhere else. It's you need to want to be there, and I want everyone to enjoy turning up for work, because that's what I love, going to work.
Fantastic. So what's just quickly before we wrap up, like, what's Mike outside of work?
Mike outside of work, jeepers. Look, I my partner, she calls me an active relaxer. I usually don't know my own limits and things. I'll go fishing or whatever, and I'll come back absolutely exhausted and sit down on the couch and fall asleep.
How relaxing.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I just try to do as much as I can with each day, and I love going out on the boat and just floating around out in 50-metre mark out off the Coromandel or something. It's a bit of fun. I don't even care if I don't catch a fish.
Do you get in the water? Do you do a bit of spearfishing?
I've got a spear gun, but a mate of mine and I, we went and bought them because we did the house for the daughter Gemma from Wetty.
Yep.
We did her and her husband's house, and so my mate Dean and I went and bought spear guns and things, and it hasn't gone that well for us. We've had a bit of a go, but I'm a bit concerned about coming face to face with a shark, to be honest.
Well, put it this way, if you're getting some good fish, the chances are you probably are going to come face to face with Mr. Sharky. But it's good fun.
Yeah, but I've got a boat, so I'd rather stay on top of the water.
Fair enough.
But
you stare back from the boat, looking at the house and going, I've designed that one. I've designed that one.
Yeah, well, the one in Hanini Street, that we met at. I have actually taken some photos of it from the water and things. It's quite cool. But it's me outside. I just I try to ride a bike every now and then to try and keep it doesn't go too well, but just
active relaxer. I like it.
Yeah.
Is there one design or a project that you've seen that you're a big fan of that you wish you were part of?
No, look, we've lost projects over the years that, to other architects and things, and you can't dwell on that sort of thing. It's interesting, when I first went into business, and the first project that didn't, they rang me and said, we've decided to go with someone else. I was soul destroyed. I was like, what are you talking about? Why did you ring me in that? And because, you know, as a young person, if you're doing, little projects for people and things like that, you kind of get everything.
Yeah.
You know, someone will ring you and say, hey, can you draw up my bathroom? Well, you get it. And so then that's probably a big lesson when you first go into business, is like, you're not going to get everyone. And it's like, that's, at first it's a tough pill to swallow, but after a while you get it. And then, you know, if someone says to me, hey, look, we decided to go with someone else, I say, look, no problem, good luck with your project, call me if we can do anything. Because you never know, sometimes things don't pan out and they'll come back, you know. And that's the same as, you know, the small deck or whatever. I never turn something like that down, because firstly, I don't want people to think, oh yeah, he's too good for us. And secondly, we've got a lot of good projects where people are either testing the waters with a small deck, or they know someone that wants to build a big house and they recommend us. You know, barbecue season's fantastic, that sort of thing.
Small doors sometimes lead to big rooms.
Yeah.
It's huge. And, you know, some of the people we've met over the last 11 years, it's just incredible, you know, for all walks of life. And every single one of them, like, you know, we could have a beer on the deck or whatever with any of our clients. It's really good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the legacy, I guess, that you want to try and build. Yeah.
Michael, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I love your enthusiasm, man. I can see you go after it. You go after life. You live it to the full.
It's the thrill of the chase. You know?
Right.
Yeah, no, Mike, pleasure having you on. Honestly, it was when we met, I instantly kind of got that connection of like that relentless. I don't think you fluked in the last 11 years. It's just the way you are and the personality that you have, which is what's giving you the success that you've got.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to what you do in the future.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Cheers.
Look, this is Home Run Podcast, man. This is the big deal right here. Although, to be fair, you wouldn't know based on our subscriber and likes and comments, basically non-existent, by the way, at this point. We are still at the beginning of our podcast journey. And actually, jokes aside, it would mean the world to us if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with a friend. Helps us know that we're making a difference. And to be fair, it's good for the ego.
Yeah, whatever he said, make sure you do it, because that will help my ego too.
Absolute muffins. He's too humble. He's too humble.
Man.
You must be proud of what we're doing here.
I'm incredibly proud of what we're doing, but I just don't know. I've never gone into this cycle of always, like, I've never asked for help.
Yeah, you've never needed the validation.
I'm always giving. Yeah. I feel very awkward, even if someone comes to me and says, what you've done is a great job. And I'm like, I just don't know how to receive. That's my biggest problem.
Mate, let me bless you with this. You have done an incredible job with this podcast in terms of the production quality. Seriously, I love watching podcasts. And do you know what? I'm a bit Kiwi. In the past, I've just been a lurker. I've listened to the content. I've enjoyed it. I've literally got a lot out of it. And they would have no knowledge. It's probably only more recently when I've actually understood the impact on creators of having that engagement, to be able to go to a sponsor, to be able to go to another guest, that having those metrics actually matter for the creators. So please, do us a favor. We're at the beginning of our podcast journey. If you'd like to help us, if the content's been useful to you in some small way, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend. It would mean the world to us.
Whatever he said.